What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Football Game Show brought to you by Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always. Welcome back, JL. My co-hosts, John Luke Garofalo and Joey Wright. And joining us today to help us out with some 2023 redraft wide receiver cheers, we have our friend Joshua Cho here with us. How's it going, guys? JL, welcome back.
Whoa, almost came back muted. That would have been a disaster. We back, baby.
But you avoided it. And Josh, thank you so much for taking the time to come and hang out with us today on JL's return.
Yeah, I like the new look on the logo. It's pretty sweet.
We did it just for you, just in time for you to come on here. We got some people in the chat ready for today's show. Victor down here saying 9:28 a.m. start time. Is this another evil tease, bro, chachos? Either way, smash that like button. If some idiot scheduled the stream for 9:28 a.m. On accident. I don't know who it was, but they will not receive their peanuts for the day. We've got Albert in here saying hello, everyone. What's up, Albert? Welcome in, my friend.
What up, Albert?
And Jay saying the gang's all here. Yeah, it's been a minute. I was gone for a while. JL was gone for a while. Joey was gone for a bit in there as well. But now we're all back together, and Josh is here with us.
Let's go.
Beautiful thing.
For his 7th FYF appearance and his first time ever on Tiers here on the Fantasy Football Game Show.
Tiers. I'm excited to be here.
We got some people in the chat excited for today's Tiers as well. Dame said, yo, what an excellent group up there. Welcome back, JL.
Thank you very much. I got the pleasure of meeting Dame and Scampers in LA. And it is true what they say. Scampers is completely a cat.
100%.
A cool.
Yeah,
You're not lying?
Never thought I'd meet a talking cat, but I did.
I was going to say, how'd you communicate? Did the cat speak English or did you speak cat?
Please, I spoke cat.
Okay, of course. Yeah, you were in his territory. You learned how to speak cat. I know who you are.
Respect.
We got Scampers in here. Speaking of the cat, beautiful FY afternoon.
Oh,
that's a new one, Scamps. I like it.
Peace. FY afternoon.
We got Dustin in here. Hashtag Team Joey, and Scamper said, "Sorry about your peanuts, Joey. It was not Joey's peanuts. Joey, your peanuts are safe for the day, but we'll see.
For now,
long show ahead of us.
I'll lose them."
We got Herms in here saying, "What up, though? What up, Herms?
What up, though?"
And Cal down here, hyped to see JV Cho up here. What's up, Cal? Well, guys, like I mentioned, we brought Cho here to help us out with some fantasy football wide receiver tiers for this 2023 redraft season. Before we get into that, though, a couple reminders. First and foremost, if you're not following our friend Josh, you need to fix that right now. You can find him on Twitter at JB Cho Knows. It's right there below his handsome face and to the left of that banana on his screen. Or you can find it in the link below this YouTube video, whether you're watching on BSN or on Front Yard Fantasy. After you follow our friend Josh, make sure you hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel wherever you're watching, and that little notification bell will make sure you never miss one of our shows or miss one of the fake times for our shows whenever we schedule it incorrectly.
It's such a weird, it's such a weird time. 9:28, like
that is very specific.
Like 3 a.m. I'd understand. Oh, how that can happen, but 9:28, very specific.
I guess it's just as specific as saying 9:30 though.
It is.
That's true. I've seen a tweet like that. It's like everything's actually a specific time if you say it.
It's true. You can't be on time. You got to be early or late.
See.
Yeah, but when someone tells you it's 3 o'clock, you can't assume specificity. But if they tell you 2:57, you can assume specificity. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if someone tells you
2:57-ish.
It's like, right? Like if someone says 3, it could be anywhere between 2:47 and 3:14.
And 5 p.m. if it's me.
Yeah, 5 p.m. About 3. We got J-Wall in the chat. What's up, J-Wall? Welcome in, my friend. And Victor, he showed backup. Wasn't enough to show up at 9:28. So JL is back. Smash that like button for the return. And Craig said, one day, one of you will slip up and say the word peanuts, and it will be saved for posterity. I think Craig was trying to get me to say penis there on accident.
I think he was.
You think so?
He was.
Craig, you can't trick me.
Try.
I'll never say penis on stream.
Stupid Craig.
I used to go to the Brave spring training games like every single spring because I live in Florida.
How's this going to connect?
It's going to connect. We had this vendor out of Disney, and he had a slight lisp, but he was very sweet. And so we'd always go, penis and beer, and we would die laughing because we were very immature.
Bullies.
That's how it connected.
Though objectively funny. We've got Maria in here with the hola. What's up, Maria? Welcome in, Maria. My friends.
Maria.
And Jay said lone lay. I have no idea what you're referring to, but welcome in. We got Tim in the chat as well. Said, hey, movie guy, pull a movie for the crowd. Tim, hope you're feeling better. Joey, Give us a random movie of the day.
Ooh, Burning. It's a South Korean film. Everybody should see it.
Hey, representing my people.
Oh, are you from South Korea? Or your people?
parents
You
are.
said your people. That's amazing.
I'm from Chicago, okay? Are you trying to ask me where I'm really?
Chicago. That's
Hit him, Josh.
One of my good friends saying he's from South Korea, and I'm supposed to go there with his family one day because that's how I want to visit.
Hey, Korean food, man. Korean food is the bee's knees. You gotta get some Korean food.
Bring some pants a size up for the trip back. Otherwise, that might be an uncomfy flight.
My favorite foreign cinema that I get to see here in the United States is from South Korea.
Yeah,
always in for.
They got some crazy stuff too.
They do.
Movies I watch, I'm like, oh man.
Right. We got Scampers in here said you guys are about to send me into an existential time spiral. Well, Scampers, we consistently on a daily basis all go to some form of existential dread, so it's only fair that we
love the spiral.
That. Yeah, the spiral is where we live. Where it's become a spiral of joy, like one of those playground slides. Just because we're so comfortable.
Is it a specific time spiral? That's the question.
It depends. It depends on if it's 3 or 257. Also, we got Scott Fish joining us today. Said I met Maria in LA and can confirm jail outkicked his coverage. She's awesome, but we all knew that.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely can confirm that. Double, triple, quadruple confirmed.
And quintuple confirm it for me as well. Guys, today we brought Josh here not just to talk about peanuts and South Korean cinema, but to also help us tier these 2023 redraft wide receivers. We've got a bunch of the names up here, not all of them, obviously. And how we're going to do this is we are going to take turns one by one selecting a wide receiver that we would like to put onto the tier list. We are going to then, if it's your turn and you selected the player, you'll tell us what tier you would put them in and why. After everyone votes, we'll average that out. Now, if there's a tie, if we end at exactly the 0.5, the tiebreaker is going to go to the guest. So, Josh, if you had put him in tier 2, along with JL, and Joey and I had put him in tier 1, that player will end up in tier 2 since you're the guest and you got that tie break. We'll go like this till we run out of time, run out of players, or run out of room on the tier list, at which point we will end today's show. You guys ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, before we do that, one reminder for everybody watching. We've got a new deal with Real Time Sports here at BSN, and first-time depositors can get a 100% instant match up to $200 with deposit code ALARM23 or BSN23. So head on over to Real Time Sports, play some of their real cash games, and get a $100 deposit match. Josh, I'm going to come to you first here. You got free reign of this list. Any player you want to talk about to kick us off, which player do you want to put on the tier list first?
All right, so I can put him in any tier. Just start with someone.
Yeah.
All right, this is one that I think for redraft, especially. I mean, after being in Dynasty and in the off season, sometimes you kind of have to regather yourself. But I'm gonna go ahead and put Cooper Kupp in tier 1 for this year. You're
not concerned about the Rams offense concerns or the Matthew Stafford concerns?
I think Matthew Stafford being back, ready to sling it again. And just Cooper Kupp, every time he touches the field, I mean, his points per game in terms of fantasy are unmatched, unrivaled. And so I know we have 2 young studs that everyone puts in the top tier, but in redraft, I'm going to go ahead and put Cooper Kupp right there. And because he's in that tier, actually, I think he's a value like later on in the first round this season for redraft. So I'm going to go ahead and put Cooper Kupp first tier.
Tier 1 for Cooper Kupp from Josh. Before I get Joey's opinion, I see Maria in the chat saying, love you lots, Scott Fish, and shouting out all the other awesome people she met with JL while they were out there in LA, like Scampers, and Dame. Also, Dustin on here just letting us know ahead of time that Jordan Addison is in tier 140, but should be in tier 55.
Well, I don't know.
Dustin, that was a good joke.
Has it been confirmed?
A joke.
No. And this is a good opportunity to remind everybody before things are confirmed, besides one guy's tweet saying that he called the Minnesota Police Department, take a step back. Remember how much all of you clowned our friend Dave for the DeAndre Swift thing, and go clown this guy for just putting something out without a real source. Yeah. It's ridiculous to just run with it at this point.
Yeah.
All right, Joey, you have the next vote cast on Cooper Kupp. What tier are you putting them in?
I could not agree more with our guest. I believe it was our friend Alfredo Brown that brought up yesterday on the show. Cooper Kupp averaged 30 points in 30% of the games he played. So he had 30 points or more in 30% of the games he played in 2021. That's unbelievable. He's definitely in tier 1 for me. Back on his feet, healthy this season. Let's go. I have him as my wide receiver 2. I have him ahead of Jamar Chase now.
Okay. Joey, wide receiver 2 for Cooper Kupp, taking it a step further, claiming his love for him for this season. JL, do you agree with our 2 guests here, or are you taking it a tier lower for Cooper Kupp?
I think there's enough risk and uncertainty in the situation to knock him down a tier. So I'm going to put Cooper Kupp in tier 2. I do agree with Josh and Joey that Cooper Kupp's upside, if he hits, is absolutely tier 1. We've seen it before. We've seen it multiple times before now. And so Cooper Kupp, if all of these uncertain variables go his way, I think he'll be tier 1. But I'm going to throw him in tier 2.
For the time being. JL, I tend to agree with a lot of the points you're making there, but I think the one area that's going to put him in tier 1 for me instead is I don't think all of the pieces need to work out in his favor with all of the uncertainty. I think only some of them do. I think if this Rams offense is terrible, Cooper Kupp can still be a top 3 fantasy football wide receiver. I don't think that has to work in his favor. Now, if Matthew Stafford is terrible, if that's what happens, then maybe we're in big trouble. But I'm going to put him in tier 1, but maybe not as confident as Joey and Josh that he's going to be that upper echelon, that top 3 kind of guy this year, just given the layers of uncertainty that you mentioned, John Luke. That is going to put Cooper Kupp in tier 1, though, sitting up there to start us off on the draft.
And I threw a poll in the chat. Throw your opinion in there. Where do you think Cooper Kupp will land, tier 1, 2, or 3 or worse?
Part of it is, too, is that I think he's still guaranteed big volume, right? I mean, there's not much competition at wide receiver or out of any of the receivers. And so we already know Stafford loves to throw it to him. And I think it's just going to be like riding a bike, getting back on it. And they're going to be slinging throughout the season. Hopefully he stays healthy.
And through 9 games last year, he was the wide receiver 1 in points per game. He played 9 games, and
his statistics are ridiculous when you look at it. Like, dude, it's absolutely insane whenever you see his numbers and like he only played 9 games. Like he's still up there in a lot of statistical categories for last year, playing half the season.
We used him just to wreck each other in trivia all throughout the season.
It's like him and Jerick McKinnon. Those are the 2.
Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, everybody's wised up on the Tyler Algier trivia now, so now we just have to throw those Cooper Kupp and
1,034 yards
in there.
Yeah.
All right, well, Joey, you got the next pick here. Which wide receiver do you want to throw on this tier list next?
I think there's 2 guys that we can probably all agree on. So I'm gonna go a different direction and try to create a tier line here. I'm gonna put Stephon Diggs in tier 2. He's on one of the best offenses in the league. I think he just lacks that major upside that these other 3 guys have. And I guess I'm being a little presumptuous to assume 2 other guys are going to go up there with Cooper Kupp. But for me, Stephon Diggs, who I absolutely love, he's my wide receiver 5, but I only have 3 guys in tier 1.
Joey putting Stephon Diggs in tier 2. JL, your best friend, relegated to tier 2 by Joey Wright. Are you putting him in tier 2 as well, or are you going to have him up in tier 1? Or maybe a tier lower in tier 3?
And just to confirm, this is PPR redraft, correct?
PPR redraft, correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Stephon Diggs, I agree with Joey. There's something missing. There's something missing that's keeping him from that top echelon, that top tier. I'm going to throw him in tier 2 as well. I think Stephon Diggs, he has the talent. He's got the situation, but he doesn't have really the volume that we want to see from a player like this. And that consistency from Stephon Diggs. So unless we see that this year, that volume increase, and for him to more consistently get those high scoring fantasy point games, I got to put him in tier 2.
I hear you guys, but a guy who was top 5 in targets, top 5 in receiving touchdowns, top 5 in PPR fantasy points, I can't put lower than tier 1. The differentiator between him and how can I put Jamar Chase in tier 1 and not put Stephon Diggs up there when Jamar Chase even has more competition for targets in that offense and hasn't put together a season like Diggs has over the past 2 years yet? I understand some of the upside, but we've also heard reports that they want Josh Allen running the ball less, keep him a little bit safer. That could mean more touchdowns for a guy that already caught 11 last season. Yeah. I think his upside is just as high as all of these other players, given the high power of that Buffalo Bills offense. And his biggest competition is Gabe Davis for targets. Dawson Knox,
Dalton Kincaid.
Maybe if you're a big Kincaid truther, but I I think he's not as exciting as some of these other names because he's older, because he's been doing it consistently. Maybe the draft capital, he didn't come in with the same pedigree as some of these guys. No, he's not that old. He's a really young man.
Really young.
Many people would say that's the youngest age you could be.
Some people say, the youngest.
The absolute youngest. Anybody younger is lying. But I'm going to put this really young wide receiver in tier 1. So we've got 2 tier 2s and a tier 1. Josh, where are you putting Mr. Diggs?
Man, I don't know, Simon. I was just about to go all in on tier 2, but listening to you talk and give your reasoning. I mean, I think a lot of people, like you talked about, have Chase and Jefferson obviously in the top tier just based on potential and offense. But you're right that Diggs has proven himself to be a wide receiver 1, obviously. He's produced touchdowns. He's got the yardage. He's got the targets. And he still is on a great offense with not much competition. So, man, you know what? I think I'm going to actually switch over and say I think I agree with you, man. I think I would put him in tier 1. But here's the thing that's hard is, do we have a limit on – I mean, I don't want to just put everyone on tier 1. So it's kind of like if there was like a 1A, 1B, I'd put him on 1B. You know, so he's like on the lower edge of the tier, I think. So, but I'll agree. I think I'll put him in tier 1.
We have 2 tier 1s, a tier 2. Dustin in the chat saying, I think Diggs is tier 2. It is going to average it out to 1.5. We can either let it go to the guest or jail. I know you're putting polls in the chat as well, right?
I am.
We can wait on Stephon Diggs to put him up in there and see what the
majority of people will say 2 probably is my guess. There's something about him, like you guys are saying, though, where it's like we know how great of a player he is. The part that actually makes me lean a little bit towards 2 more is sometimes I feel like his mentality or like, you know, like got to keep your mentals kind of thing, where sometimes he expresses his dissatisfaction in ways that I think could potentially affect his playing and his relationship with Josh Allen. So, but I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I guess when we're looking at these top guys, it's like splitting hairs trying to figure out where that line between tier 1 and tier 2 is. Yeah. We'll see what the chat has to say, and then we can throw them in there. Maria says tier 1, and then we've got our friend Tabitha. Hi, Joey's mom, coming in saying hello.
Happy Joey's mom.
Day.
Hi, Mom.
See, didn't Joey tell you? Look how hot he is.
That's cool.
I already forgot about that.
And Scamper's in here saying hi, Tabitha. Well, we'll wait on those results. While we're waiting on the results, our friend NKC popping in saying, guess who's back? Welcome in.
You are.
NKC. Glad to have you here, my
man.
friend.
People love JL. That's awesome.
Guess who's back?
Just in time for some tears. John Luke, you get to pick the next player we're talking about while we're waiting on the Stephon Diggs results to pour in.
Oh, let's see. All right, let's talk about let's throw some of these easy ones in here. Fill this board out. Let's throw Justin Jefferson in tier 1. His situation just got better from last year. I think we all would agree he would be tier 1 last year as well. This year, wheels up for Justin Jefferson. I have him as my wide receiver 1.
I think this is one where if we all can just say we can put him up there and JL can pick another guy. Everyone in agreement?
Tier 7 for me.
Oh, well, there you go. Nuts, Joey. And they're gone. Justin Jefferson will throw him up in tier 1. JL, you want to pick another player?
Sure. Let's talk about Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, I'm going to throw in tier 1. He has always been this explosive wide receiver, super fun to watch. And then last year he goes to Miami, and we're all a little worried because we don't know what that situation in Miami is going to be like. But it was fantastic. Mike McDaniel loves to use Tyreek Hill. He's also super weird, has a ton of fun and creative plays that he loves to work in with a guy like Tyreek Hill. I think it's nothing but good news so far this offseason for Tyreek Hill. I'm putting him in tier 1. I think he moved his way up from last year to this year.
JL going tier 1 for Tyreek Hill. And John Luke, I've got I think 2 players that I thought were going to be in tier 1 that other people weren't going to have up there, and Tyreek Hill was one of them. I'm not scared about Jalen Waddle and that offense. And you know why? Just go look at the Dolphins stats from last season. You don't even have to go click on the game logs individually because the numbers are so ridiculous that it can paint the picture that they'll support both of those guys. Tyreek Hill had over 1,700 yards last season, while Jalen Waddle had close to 1,400 receiving yards. It was like 1,350 or something like that. And this is a dude who, on all of those yards, on over, how many targets did he have? Over 150 targets last year. Only scored, 7 or 8 touchdowns? He wasn't up there in the upper echelon, double-digit touchdown kind of guys. he could be even better this year with the offense improved without much changing. His volume doesn't need to change. His efficiency doesn't need to change. If he catches the end zone 1 or 2 more times, we're talking about Tyreek Hill as the number 1 overall wide receiver pretty easily. He's tier 1 for me as well, John Luke. Josh, where are you putting him? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3?
I'm definitely putting him in tier 1. I mean, when a guy says he is going to get 2,000 plus yards in a season, and none of us are like, that's ridiculous, that just shows how good and special of a player that person is. Tyreek Hill, he had 170 targets last season. And yes, only 7 touchdowns, but he had 1,400 yards or 1,700 yards. That's how many yards per target is that? I mean, it's
a million-ish,
you know? So I think it was pretty cool to see him go to another team and just continue balling out. There were questions like, is he a product of the KC offense? And then also when he left, they were like, is KC going to fall apart? But I think the two don't have to be mutually exclusive. I think he can be good wherever he goes. KC still obviously, their offensive engine is purring. But, man, Tyreek Hill, I think with a full season of Tua, 2,000 yards is not out of the question. And like you're saying, a couple touchdowns extra go his way. He could very easily have the wide receiver 1 in his range of outcomes. And I think it's a necessity to be considered anywhere close to tier 1. And so I will put him there in tier 1. And I hope that Tua, he's healthy all season, same with Tyreek. And it'll be amazing to see like what he predicted come true, and see a 2,000 yard season out of him. That would be insane.
That would be crazy. Joey, we got 3 tier 1s here for Tyreek Hill. Are you putting him in tier 1 as well, or is he going to be lower for you?
I'll be a wet blanket.
Yes, we need one.
So here's the only thing that worries me about Tyreek Hill.
That was the perfectly timed freeze from Joey.
I thought he was joking. I thought he was.
This is the only thing that worries me about Tyreek Hill.
Absolutely nothing.
And he's back.
Sorry. I don't know what happened.
Joey, that couldn't have been timed better at the freeze. Though. You said this is the only thing that worries me about Tyreek Hill.
Big Dolphins.
I dropped immediately. Yeah.
Big Dolphins just trying to take Joey out.
Guys, let's just leave it at that. Like, I did say something after that, but we've made a moment here, and I don't want to run that. So
but I want to hear what you got to say. You're the only wet blanket on Tyreek Hill.
No, so the only thing I'm worried about is if that guy that he put his hands on at that marina does press charges, because it did come back up in the news that he might now. So if that guy flip-flops on that and he misses 2 games, that would just kind of bump into tier 2 for me. But that would be the only thing that I see. That's why I have him in tier 2 right now, because I think that guy is probably going to flip-flop on what he said.
That's fair. And you're right.
I hate saying that. Like, I don't like bringing that into it, but it's a legitimate concern that I have.
It's part of the sport. And if he's going to miss games because of something, then it does affect his ranking over there. Well, Tyreek Hill is still going to end up in tier 1, though. Yes. And if I would remember that the order of the alphabet was in, it would be a lot easier to find him on this list.
There he is.
H comes before Z, Simon.
Right before Hopkins.
There he is. Thanks, guys. Tyreek Hill in tier 1. Also, we got our friend NKC down here wondering, hi, Joey, how have you been?
Man, NKC, I've been well. I've been watching a lot of wrestling, been doing some football stuff. I'm going to see Barbie tonight, so I'm pretty excited. Get to hang out with my wife, so that's fun.
Nice. Also, and NKC says, hi, everyone else who remembers me. He was around hanging with us almost every morning on the morning show. So glad you came over here and hung out. Wow. All right. Well, Joey.
Yep.
Whose turn is it? I think it's my turn to pick a player at this point.
Yep. Let's get the order back.
Yeah, we're going to get that back fixed together. Whoa. It's a shuffle. The player I want to talk about next is someone who was in tier 1 for me last year, but I'm bumping down to tier 2 just because of the uncertainty of the quarterback position, and that is Davante Adams. And it pains me to put him even below tier 1 because of what we've seen him do over the past 2, 3, 4 seasons. But I'm not sure that I trust Jimmy Garoppolo to support a wide receiver that's put up the kind of numbers that Davante Adams has. That being said, I could easily be made look silly. He's going to be sitting right up there at the top of my tier 2. Right after Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs, Davante Adams is the next wide receiver I want. And I'm not going to be shocked if that offense just flows through him again. But for the time being, because of the quarterback change, I'm going to put him in tier 2. Josh, where are you putting Davante Adams?
Man, just like you said, we cannot question the man's talent, his ability to find the end zone, to catch the ball and create yards after the catch. But yeah, I mean, he himself brought some concerns up with the change at quarterback, where Jimmy Garoppolo, he doesn't like to throw the deep ball as much, and that's where Adams really, really excels, as a playmaker. And so there's definitely some things I think that they're going to have to work out. I'm not a hater on Jimmy G like a lot of people are. Like, I think that he can be a very good quarterback, but I do think that the strengths don't necessarily align. But I cannot take away from Adams' talent, so I will also put him there at 2.
We got 2 Davante Adams tier 2. Joey, where are you putting Mr. Adams?
I think tier 2 is where he is for this season. I was on with Brett Flynn and Andrew Cooper on Monday, and we talked about Davante Adams and where we had him. And something Coop brought up that I thought was really important is where he's going in high stakes leagues. If you look right now, he's going around the wide receiver 10 and the FFPC tournaments. And these are guys that are putting like $10,000, $25,000 on the line. And to see him going that far down to where he was last year kind of perks my eyes a little bit. I think it's always good to kind of see where the money's going. So yeah, Adams at the bottom of tier 2 for me. I think if everything's right with him, he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. There's just too many question marks for him this season.
3 tier 2s so far. John Luke, you agreeing with the group here? You going against the grain with Mr. Davante Adams?
This is tough. I want to go against the grain. I think that this 1 to 3 range is right where this conversation needs to happen for Davante Adams. He is incredible. I mean, Josh brought up the deep ball. He was number 2 amongst all wide receivers in deep ball targets. I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo is as bad as everyone says. From what I've seen with my eyes, he's been a slightly above average quarterback, and that's about as far as it goes. I think Davante Adams will be fine. I'm tempted to throw him in tier 1 here.
Whoa.
I am. I'm going to throw him in tier 1.
The talent dictates it. I'm glad somebody did, because this is a player that I'm fearful of ranking as low as I have him. And that's not even low. It's like wide receiver 6. He could make you look silly pretty easily. I don't think any of us are going to be shocked if he ends up a top 2 option. He's still going to end up in tier 2, but we'll put him up there near the top as a nod to where we ended up putting him. Yeah. We got Andrea in here. What's up, Andrea? Welcome in.
Hi, Andrea.
Good to see you.
Grim fan joining us as well. Welcome in, Grim. Joey, Craig had a question for you. He said, perks your eyes. Can you demonstrate that for us?
You always did have those perky eyes.
Yeah, make me full screen. Bring me full screen. Full screen.
Yeah. Yeah. 1 second. I'm very fast at that.
Is this going to be safe for work?
Oh, whoa. Wow. Whoa. What's happening?
That's for you, Craig.
There it is. There it is.
I'm not sure I told you guys this. The weirdest thing happened while I was on vacation.
I flipped the contact lens.
It was very close to that, but I noticed my eyebrow piercing was pushing forward a little bit. And I was looking at it, and it did not fall out of the hole. My body pushed it forward through the skin out of my face. Yeah. I was like brushing my teeth, and it just like popped out, landed on the sink in front of me. Yeah. My body said, nope, no more eyebrow ring, and just threw it out.
Yeah, I had a friend who had the same thing. She just, every time I saw her, it would just be like a little bit farther across the eyebrow. And then eventually it was just thing. I'm like, I'm pretty sure your body does not want that on your face for some reason. And then it eventually came off.
We got Trowbridge down here. What's up, Jake? Saying, I don't like it. No.
How are you, Jake? Good to see you, buddy.
Dude, he has the best videos, man. That is a talented man right there.
That is a talented man. If you haven't,
private collection.
You should see his private collection, his feet collection.
Sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I watch him dance like Michael Stipe, and I bring it up to him all the time. But it brings me so much joy. He just nailed that.
Thanks, Jake, for bringing
Everything's
smiles.
Great about Jake.
Every single day.
Tier 1, Jake.
Okay, well, Davante Adams has been tiered in tier 2, which means, Josh, we are back to you. You get to pick the next player that we're talking about here.
All right, man. So I love CeeDee Lamb. Like a lot. Okay? I love lambs.
Thanks, Kirk.
I love lamb.
So last year, he finally was used and targeted as I feel that he always should have been from the time he came into the league. He had 156 targets He caught 107 balls for close to 1,400 yards with 9 touchdowns. Right, so he did very well last year, and I really felt like he could push into that tier 1 actually. But I think I'm gonna, as much as I want to put him there, I'm gonna put him in tier 2 for this season. There's some changes that have gone on with the play calling that I'm a little bit interested to see what happens if they're going to air it out as much as they kind of have been. And, they also got Brandon Cooks into the fold. So there might be a little bit of, in terms of targets, I'm not worried that CeeDee Lamb will lose too many, but Brandon Cooks is also a very good receiver. And I can see him getting a lot of looks from Dak as well. But yeah, this guy's a stud, and I think he should continue to get the majority target share in a very good offense in Dallas. And so I will, as much as I want to put him in 1, I'll put him in tier 2 for this season.
He loves Lamb, but not enough to put Lamb in tier 1. Lamb in tier 2, but with a lot of love from Josh. Yes. Joey, are you following Josh on tier 2 with CeeDee Lamb, or is he ending up somewhere else for you?
I am. I thought for a second Josh was going tier 1, and I was going to have to not argue, but bring up why I don't have him in tier 1. But I will say why I don't have him in tier 1. With Kellen Moore leaving and Mike McCarthy saying that he wants to run the ball more. Yeah. I'm worried that the volume's not going to be there for Lamb. Plus, with Brandon Cooks coming in there, an actual competent wide receiver 2 in Dallas, which we've been waiting for a couple seasons now. Sorry, all you Michael Gallup truthers. Although I think Michael Gallup's going to be really good as a wide receiver.
1 more year removed from injury.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think he's going to be perfect in that 3 role, and I think he'll actually succeed really well. But as far as CeeDee Lamb goes, just worried about the volume being there. I'm happy to draft him in tier 2, though.
Yeah.
John Luke, we've got 2 tier 2s for CeeDee Lamb. Where are you putting him?
I'm going to throw CeeDee Lamb in tier 3. The issue last year was the quarterback play. Dak was injured for a good part of the season, and CeeDee Lamb had to rely on backup quarterbacks, but even when Dak came back, we really didn't see the same juice from him. So I think CeeDee Lamb is just affected by this offense, and the Kellen Moore leaving, like Joey said, or Josh, I can't remember which one you said. One of you said it.
Yeah,
is a big deal. I am worried about that. I'm worried that offense isn't going to be as strong as we've seen the last couple of years. So I got to throw him in tier 3.
CeeDee Lamb's going to be tier 2 for me. I'm going to put him where you guys had him. And the point that you brought up about them potentially wanting to move to a more rush-heavy offense is precisely why. And it's not like this is a team that threw the ball among the top throwing teams in the league last year, right? This was a rush-first team. They were top 6 in rushing attempts, and they were in the bottom 3rd in passing attempts last season. If that continues to shift and Brandon Cook siphons off some of those targets, it's going to be looking not as good for CeeDee Lamb. That being said, where he's starting is PPR wide receiver 5 last season, in a season where there were things that disappointed us. So if he drops, it's still dropping within tier 2 for me. So I'm going to put CeeDee Lamb in tier 2. That's going to finish him up in tier 2. Sorry about that language.
I have been waiting 15 minutes for this freaking Stephon Diggs poll to have one of the options be the leading option. And every time I look, it's tied.
Well, if it's tied, then we just give it to the guest, right?
Yeah, I get the tier 1.
Oh, I think we just got it. Maybe if I can end it before someone else votes.
End the poll. End the poll.
Stop it.
Let's go. Tier 2.
Damn it. Shoot. Open it back up.
Yeah,
someone get the Attorney General on the line.
You know what's hilarious though? It's a little bit ironic, but in redraft leagues, I will rarely end up with a tier 1 or 2 wide receiver. And the reason for that,
drafters.
Yeah, I still kind of stay true to that, where I'm drafting the top running backs in the first couple of rounds in a 1 QB league. But I have fun with. I've been tempted to maybe take on one of these, tier 1, tier 2 guys, in the first couple of rounds, because it's kind of the meta right now, right? People just love to draft wide receivers first right now. But yeah, man, if you see some of the drafts that I've been doing recently with some of the different charity tournaments and whatnot, it's a lot of running backs, going down in the first 5 rounds. So yeah,
drafting those running backs. I tend to shift the other way though. This year, Josh, I have found myself drafting running backs earlier than I have in past seasons, because it seems like value slipping a bit, especially in rounds like 3, 4, 5. There's like good running backs sitting there now. So my teams are less wide receiver heavy this year than they have been in the past.
Yeah.
Also, I see NKC has now mentioned a question for me multiple times. I'm happy to answer it, but you got to tell me what it is first, or it's going to be really difficult.
I think he's just telling us to question you.
Like question Simon. Question Simon. Question everything he says.
In the world.
Simon, do you know what song Craig is parodying here?
No idea. So you can sing it again, Joey.
I believe it's My Boyfriend's Back, isn't it?
I don't know that song.
Oh.
Are you going to sing it for us?
Oh, put it back up. I'll sing it. I didn't know you wanted me to sing it.
I always want you to sing.
So it's Dak is back and there's gonna be some trouble. Hey la, de la, Dak is back. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Almost as beautiful as your last rendition, Joey. I forget what it was.
All I could think of was Backstreet Boys, like Dak is back. You know, and then I was like, but that's not
that too, but it didn't flow. Right.
Whitney Texans.
All right. Well, CeeDee Lamb in tier 2, and the Stephon Diggs poll finally ended. So the delayed tier 2 for Stephon Diggs. Joey, you've got the next pick here. Who do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm wearing blue and white, so I'm going to take one of my favorite wide receivers to draft this season. That's Amon-Ra St. Brown with the Detroit Lions. Put him in tier 2, firmly in tier 2, smack dab in the middle. He's my wide receiver 8. These first 6 games, we're not going to see Jameson Williams on the field. And I think that's going to allow Amon-Ra St. Brown to get out of the slot a little bit, which is kind of the part of the game we've been waiting to see him develop. So I look forward to seeing that from Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff. I love this Lions offense, and St. Brown's going to be a huge part of it. So tier 2 for me.
Who knew Joey was a crooner and an Amon-Ra St. Brown fan? We got a tier 2 for ARSB. JL, where are you putting the Sun God himself?
The Sun God. I'm going to throw the Sun God in tier 2. Tier 2. That Detroit Lions team I'm very bullish on this year.
Tier 2 for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Before I reveal my tier, I see NKC wanted to know, how do tiers work? And is Jalen Hyatt going to be tier 1? Probably not. But how tiers are going to work is this is a grouping of players that we expect similar outcomes from for this upcoming fantasy football season. So the players that we expect the highest outcomes from are going to end up in tier 2, and then it's going to scale down from there. How we're operating with it here is we each cast in a vote for where we think they're going to go, and then we average those numbers. So if we have 2 tier 1s, a tier 2, and a tier 3, we'll average all those numbers together. It'll come out around 2, and we'll put them in tier 2. And with that being said, that's exactly where I'm putting Amon-Ra St. Brown, in tier 2. It's about as clear of a – I forget who was on our show who said it, that tier 2 felt like tier 1 in waiting for some of these players, and that's kind of how – oh, man, what a smart guy.
Yourself.
A wise, handsome man once said that tier 2 is tier 1 in waiting.
That's awesome. Oh, man.
And so that's what Amon-Ra St. Brown is for me. If he is the kind of player that I wouldn't be shocked to see catapult himself into tier 1 next year. If this Detroit offense improves like we think it's going to, and he remains as heavy of a target leader as he is, he'll likely be tier 1 this time next season. But we got 3 tier 2s so far. Josh, where are you putting Amon-Ra St. Brown?
So I'm going to go ahead and put him in tier 2 as well. Just real quick though, he's proven himself enough where I shouldn't doubt him. But I actually don't know. I think it might be actually a season where he's in tier 2, but I think the only real move that I'm going to see him go, I think he'll always be a tier 2 and then at some point move down potentially. Like,
that's an excellent point.
The reason he's in tier 2 is because like Jameson Williams is going to be out for like half the season. And what they brought in Denzel Mims now to try to like, offer some, target competition. Like he's going to have his targets now. And I still do believe that a lot of what he did was because of circumstances. Although last year he kind of proved that he can still keep it going with his 140 plus, targets and with his production. But I just don't see him ever going to that top level, especially because he's not really a huge play guy. Like he's still kind of all in the mid and the close range, things where he can rack up points for PPR, but I don't think he'll ever get up there with like a Tyreek Hill or, Cooper Kupp or Jefferson or even like really Diggs. So he's like 2 to 3-ish for me, to be honest.
Sometimes you see their value coming into the league almost create a ceiling, even if they're performing similarly to other players. Like Honestly, I think Stephon Diggs still lives with some of his 4th-round draft capital. It's not viewed the same as Justin Jefferson. And Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't have that 1st-round draft capital that some of these other guys do. I see NKC in here saying, no, I meant Jalen Hurts for quarterback. Jalen Hurts will surely be tier 1, I think, from every single person here at QB. Yeah. I think Joey has him number 1 overall, ahead of Patrick Mahomes, ahead of Josh Allen. So you got a Jalen Hurts loving squad up here, NKC. Mm-hmm. And I saw you asking, when will we do quarterbacks? We'll do quarterbacks at some point before the season, most likely. We do not have it scheduled yet, but we'll be mixing in these tier shows periodically to give you guys a peek at it. All right. Everyone is definitely talking with their microphones on, so we're going to move on to the next person who's nominating a player.
Real quick, since we were on Amon-Ra St. Brown, there was some Lions news that just came through. If you like Jared Goff, be confident in him because Hendon Hooker was just put on the pup. So I don't know if it's season, which we expected because Hooker was coming into the league injured already. Yeah. But Jared Goff's going to have that whole season with Amon-Ra St. Brown now, it looks like, which is what we're hoping.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone was afraid of the hook,
I know
of Hooker.
I'm not afraid of hookers. I'm pretty supportive of them, and
as a Buccaneers
love
fan,
Tennessee.
You perk your eyes at them.
Yeah. All right, John Luke, you get to pick the next player we're talking about. And Craig says you're looking very fresh and tan. What does the fresh and tan JL want to talk about next?
Very sweet of you. Thank you. All right, let's talk about Garrett Wilson, because Garrett Wilson is a fun player to talk about. That's this Jets sophomore who we saw play very well last year. I think is going to have a great season. The Jets organization has just been putting pieces and building up this offense and the defense to where this team is a competitive team. I think they can make a playoff run this year. And so I expect Garrett Wilson to be the main guy on that offense. And I think he'll have a great year, assuming he comes back all healthy and everything. So Garrett Wilson, tier 3 for me.
Tier 3 for Garrett Wilson for John Luke. And this is one of the ones I struggle with the most because we didn't see a complete season. We didn't even see like a half season of that elite production, but boy, did we see a couple games there at the end. We saw 4 or 5 games that was a sneak peek into what Garrett Wilson could be. And that was with below average quarterback play. We're assuming Aaron Rodgers is an upgrade for Garrett Wilson, but I do think that's a much bigger assumption than most people are giving it credit to be. It's a new offense.
Zach Wilson?
Well, I mean, no, he's clearly an upgrade over Zach Wilson. I'm just not sure. We're assuming the Jets are automatically like a playoff contender with Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is an incredible quarterback, but we see players enter new systems and struggle to find their footing. Even if that takes 4 games, that is 4 games of Aaron Rodgers trying to figure it out. We also see Aaron Rodgers have strong preferences towards specific receivers. We assume it's Garrett Wilson, but they also brought over some of his friends like Alan Lazard into that offense. Maybe Garrett Wilson isn't the target hog that we're expecting him to be. So, JL, I'm with you. He's tier 3. And again, like Davante Adams, a player that can make me look so stupid. If he comes out there, gets 150 plus receptions or targets, and is just the superstar that we saw sneak peeks of at the end of last season. So I've got him tier 3. He's outside my top 12, but he is so close to sniffing it. Josh, where are you putting Garrett Wilson? We've got 2 tier 3 so far, 2 haters.
All right. So I'm actually, if you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown's numbers and Garrett Wilson's numbers in terms of production, they're actually pretty similar. So it's kind of like Amon-Ra St. Brown is kind of towards the 3. And then Garrett Wilson is someone I think I'll put in the upper, like very close to 2. But he actually has the goods, I think, to have a ceiling to eventually potentially be in the first tier where I think Amon-Ra cannot go. But with that being said, because of all the changes, and there hasn't really been the consistency, even at quarterback for Garrett Wilson. So even though he's produced despite that, I'm going to put him in 3 this year. But he has the potential within the year to jump tiers, I think, if he and Aaron Rodgers can really get on the same page. So, yeah, I'm going to put him at 3. But, man, him and Amon-Ra St. Brown in terms of production is so close. Like, if you go look at the numbers, you'll be like, I thought Amon-Ra had a much better season, but he didn't do that hot. I don't know. I kind of want to put Amon-Ra in 3 now. But I'll put Garrett Wilson at 3 for this year.
We got Garrett Wilson at 3. 3 so far. Joey,
I meant 2. I said 3. I meant 2.
Okay, we've got a 2 3s. And then before Joey goes, I want you to take Tim's point into consideration. Jets gonna be poopy doo doo.
Poopy doo doo.
Tim's probably high on painkillers, so he doesn't know what he's talking about right now. So I don't know. No.
Well, you still got to tier him. Yeah.
2. I completely agree with what everything Josh said. That was like literally every talking point I had, to the point that I will put him in 2 because I do think he'll be in 1 next year. I think it's only a matter of time until him and Aaron Rodgers get on the same page for redraft. Garrett Wilson, once him and Rodgers are there, like he's not Rodgers' number 1 wide receiver. Let's go. Tier 2 for me, with the hope that he gets to tier 1 next year.
And Josh, you are I was a little bit shocked to see that, just because the production numbers were so different from a fantasy standpoint, but they were within 1 target of each other last season. They had similar utilization in their offenses. I guess the targets were just significantly less valuable for Garrett Wilson, coming from the plethora of QBs thrown to him, except those Joe Flacco targets at the beginning of the season.
Those were elite. Those were elite for sure.
Those were elite targets. All right, so that's a tie between tier 2 and tier 3. We had 2 tier 3s, 2 tier 2s. JL, we got a poll going in the chat.
We do, and tier 2 is going to take it.
Tier 2 is going to take it for Garrett Wilson. NKC will be happy. He said, "You got to be kidding me. He is a 2."
64% of the chat went tier 2, 21% went tier 1, 7% went tier 3, and 7% tier 4 or lower.
Wow.
You know what? It feels right having him sit next to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm glad you guys outvoted me and put him in tier 2.
So Tim had one other Dolphins fan come in and vote for tier 4.
Oh wait, I'm an absolute idiot boy. That was Amon-Ra St. Brown's bowl. So the answer to your question, Simon, is no. We don't have a poll in the chat.
Is undetermined. Well, Garrett Wilson, you are awaiting judgment to determine what tier you will go into. Herms with a counterpoint to Amon-Ra not being tier 1 now. He's the only NFL player who is also an Egyptian deity, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
Yeah, have any of you guys read the book American Gods by Neil Gaiman?
No.
If you're into really weird and gratuitous sex scenes with random deities from history, then you should read that book, because there are a lot of them in it. Just repeatedly. It opens with one, and then in the middle there's another one that involves a cat/god. Like,
come on, this is a family show. Come on.
I never said this was a family show, Josh.
How do you think families?
Yeah, I've been misled here. I thought this was a family show. Come on.
Yeah. Family's about to get a little bit bigger.
Where do you think families come from, Josh?
Well, guys, we are waiting for the Garrett Wilson results, and while we're waiting, I'm going to bring up the next player, and that is one that we probably should have put up in tier 1 already, Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is maybe the last player that I think belongs up there. I know T. Higgins is in that offense, but he is one of the elite talents, has shown he can produce as a top 5 guy, even with T. Higgins on the field. And with Joe Burrow slinging him the ball this year again, and a potential for Joe Mixon to not play or miss some time, we're looking at a pretty solid Jamar Chase season. Not much else needs to be said. Tier 1 for me. Josh, where are you putting him?
Oh, man. Sorry, I was like thinking about the next person. Wait, who are we at right now?
Jamar Chase.
Oh, come on. I mean, I already put it past my brain, because he's clearly in number 1.
Tier 1 from Josh.
In that offense, I mean, with his talent, sky's the limit. Let's get him the ball more.
Joey and John Luke, you guys agree?
Yep. Tier 1.
He's good at football. He catch good.
Up there in tier 1. Also, Nate said, why is Davante in tier 2? Mr. Jimmy GQ. But that's not much of a knock. That just means maybe he's wide receiver 6 instead of top 5 wide receiver. A little bit more risk. All right, Josh, which wide receiver do you want to talk about next here?
All right, so this guy, he was questioned for his size. Is he going to be able to make it in the NFL as a productive receiver? Devontae Smith.
Slim Reaper.
He had an amazing season last year, and I think that he can do even better. I would say, though, I think some people might kind of edge him to the second tier, but I'm going to put him actually in tier 3. Sorry, I know the build-up seemed like it was going to be really high, but just because you're an amazing player doesn't mean that the tiers work out that way, right? Like even with Davante Adams, if we're talking about talent, he's going to be tier 1, but I think situation definitely has to be accounted for. And Devontae Smith, as much as I believe in him as a player, and he's definitely a baller at every level of the game, AJ Brown there is still kind of the alpha, although that you might call them the 1A, 1B in that receiving core. But a lot of the work that Davante Smith got, there was Dallas Goedert. He was injured for some time. And I just don't know if he can command the same total target share and number of targets that he did last season. And because of that, with all the talent and everything still, I would probably go tier 3 here in 2023.
Tier 3 for Devonta Smith. Joey, are you part of the crowd that thinks Devonta Smith overtakes as the wide receiver 1 in this Eagles offense next year? Are you agreeing with Josh on his prognostication of him?
I am not of that group. Although I am of the people that would let my friends and my fellow fantasy managers draft AJ Brown and then be the one to take Devonta Smith. I love AJ Brown. I really do. But I like Devonta Smith almost just as much based on value. He's the very tip top of tier 3 for me. Just almost there at 2, but just can't seem to push through.
He's sniffing it. He's sniffing tier 2. Well, we got 2 tier 3s and some chatter in the chat from a Raiders fan that Davante Adams is too high.
What? From a Raiders fan?
Get your Homer glasses on. We're in on Davante's talent. The dude is a beast. John Luke, where are you putting the wide receiver that we're talking about? Devonta Smith, that I remember the whole time.
Smith, who you remembered the entire time. Well done, Simon. I'm going to put him in tier 4. Devonta Smith, he is a fantastic wide receiver on a fantastic offense. But the targets were lower than I would have wanted from a short range wide receiver like Devonta Smith because that offense didn't pass as much. And so I'm worried about Devonta Smith's volume. I'm going to put him in tier 4.
Tier 4 from John Luke. I'm so close between tier 4 and tier 3, but the idea that Devonta Smith and AJ Brown have that gap close a little bit this year, and then just the utter belief in this Eagles offense is going to keep him in tier 3 for me. I think he belongs with near the guys like Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, even though he's not the primary target on his team. His upside is that high because of the team he plays on. But he's right there on that line. I'll go tier 3. That's 2 tier 3s or 3 tier 3s and 1 tier 4, which is going to put Devonta Smith in tier 3.
JL, that's the first time that we deviated from each other, and that makes me unhappy because I feel like we drifted apart just with that right there.
Yeah,
we were doing so well.
Also, I got to highlight Craig in here coming in.
Honeymoon's
what about DK Sek Metcalf as another Egyptian deity in the NFL?
There you go.
That was pretty clever to come up with just out of nowhere, Craig. You've been sitting on that one. Should have DM'd that to me, and I could have done a NFL player Egyptian deity mashup on the fortune puzzle. All right, we probably got time for one more player here, and Joey, I believe it is your pick. Who is the last guy that we're going to be putting on this tier list?
Keenan Allen. I still love Keenan Allen. I think he's very divisive between people, so I want to hear what people have to say about Keenan Allen. He's got one of the best quarterbacks in the league throwing to him. Hopefully throwing to him more this year with the new offensive coordinator there. I have Keenan Allen in tier 3. He's my wide receiver 15. I think he's still going to get a lot of volume, even with Quentin Johnston joining the team and hopefully more healthy than ever Mike Williams. I still think Keenan Allen's the best wide receiver on that offense for this year. So he's in my tier 3.
So NKC says we are liars about Devonta Smith. We're truthers, NKC.
Liars.
Nobody's question is his talent, but fantasy's more than just a little talent. Jake agreeing with you, Joey, saying that Keenan Allen deserves our respect and admiration. Jail, will you be giving your respect and admiration to Keenan Allen by putting him in tier 3, or are you going to disobey Daddy Jake?
Sorry, Daddy Jake. I'm going to be a bad boy. I'm going Keenan Allen, tier 4. He's so old, Joey. He's too old to be running with the young guys. He's not as young as Stephon Diggs.
But he's not as old as you think he is.
He's not in tier 2 either, though.
Keenan Allen's one of those guys that I feel like his age has finally caught up to what we've thought it was for the last 5 years. Like he's been 31 in my head for the last 5 years, but he's just now actually 31. Like I've been discounting
Abe
him.
Lincoln. Is that
I know.
why?
I've been discounting him due to age for like 5 years now, and now finally it's valid. Yeah. We've got a tier 3 and a tier 4, and he is going to be tier 4 for me as well. We talked about a change in offensive systems there in Dallas affecting CeeDee Lamb's ranking. There's a change in offensive systems here. Now, it could benefit Keenan Allen, but maybe Mike Williams is the biggest beneficiary there. Maybe they go Austin Eckler as the best player on this team. Let's get the ball in his hands as much as possible and phase out this aging wide receiver in our offense with some of the younger talent that we have coming in. I still think he's incredible. He was a top 12 wide receiver in points per game last season, but I'm going to put him down in tier 4 with JL as well. Josh, we've got a tier 3, 2 tier 4s. Bring us home.
Dude, come on, man. If I could put him in tier 2, I would.
Yeah.
He definitely belongs at the very least in tier 3. We're talking about an offense that has more than enough to go around, that plans to potentially throw more and get the ball in the air. And Keenan Allen is just about as tried and true that you can get at the wide receiver position. He's never been a super fast receiver. He just knows how to ball, get himself into open spaces, and catch the thing and go. And so I expect over the course of a full healthy season, he will easily be tier 3, could even creep into tier 2. He's dependable. He's one of my favorite wide receivers that I've drafted for, like you said, like many years, thinking he was an old dude, but yeah, he's just like he
just keeps getting younger almost,
and he's someone that I think you shouldn't let slide too far, right? He's one of the value guys I think you get a little bit later on because he kind of has that, old age, following him around. But I think he's at a very, very good rate.
And Josh, you bring up the point that if Mike Williams does miss time, that he's going to do great. And Jake's supporting you here, saying Mike Williams can't catch a pass without doing a backflip and landing on his kidneys. So I think Keenan will be great in the 12 games Williams misses. Jake, as a Mike Williams fan, that hurts so much because that's exactly how he plays football. Dude, I watched him dive headfirst into a goalpost to catch a touchdown against Wofford. And then he was in a neck brace for the rest of the season. Like, dude doesn't know how to go anything less than 140% for every single ball. Keenan Allen with that. Since you said on the borderline of tier 2, Josh, and we don't have time for the chat, we're going to put Keenan Allen in tier 3. You will get the tiebreaker here. JL, before we end, do we have the results of that Garrett Wilson poll?
We do.
Gary Wilson, sorry.
Gary Wilson. 33% chose tier 3. 6% chose tier 4 or lower. 0% chose tier 1. And 60% chose tier 2. So tier 2 is where we'll end.
Welcome to tier 2.
The hype is real.
People love some Garrett Wilson. Well, guys, thank you so much to everybody who came and hung out with us today while we put this tier list together. I saw Andrea in here saying that she likes tiers. Well, we like that you like tiers. And if you guys have feedback for us on any of the shows or games that we play, we love to hear each and every bit of it. You can send it to us on Twitter, in the chat here, or in our Discord, which you can find the link for in the video or in the link below this video. Josh, thank you so much for coming on and imparting your wisdom on these 2023 wide receivers. I appreciate it.
It's always a blast to be on with you guys. You guys are some of the best in the biz. And I'm just so happy you guys are keeping it going and thriving, and all the success in the world to you guys.
Thank you so much, Josh. We love having you come on. That is going to be the end of our show today. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time for some more fantasy football game show fun. So make sure to come hang out with us then. In the meantime, I don't know, go run a marathon or buy a hat or jump in a lake, whatever tickles your fancy. Go get some Korean food on Thursday night. Yeah. That's going to be it for us, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Adios, everyone.
Bye-bye.
I don't usually listen to